full education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now, I'll post a new video. So today I'm reviewing Mission Impossible 3. As you may know, I've rebroken my ankle. I've had it confirmed that it's actually a re-break now, but a wider break than before. So it's worse than before. And I'm watching more and more movies. The camera is on my lap, balanced as I got ice on my foot. Right, so I've watched Mission Impossible 3. This was our International Celebrate Being Single Day gift to myself. So I'm really happy that I got this in advance. So yeah, I had some gifts. I've also got some other movies as well. So yes, what happens in this? Right, if you don't like spoilers, please do not watch this video, because I am going to spoil Mission Impossible 3 for you. But if you've seen it already, or you don't mind one way or the other, if I spoil it for you, that's fine, continue watching. So Mission Impossible 3 is very, very action-packed. I really, really enjoyed it. Lots and lots of action. I was actually shocked when I watched the bonus features of how many stunts Tom Cruise does as Ethan. You know, he does a lot of the stunts himself, including when a lorry goes over him. It's a real lorry going over his real body, not a stuntman. And I was absolutely shocked. I'm like, oh my God. Because obviously the guy who's driving the lorry has to have such precision, otherwise he could kill him. Anyway, so the story, right. So you get straight into the action, and you find out that an agent, he's called back into the business, basically. So he's like all settled now with a woman who later on in the movie becomes his wife. But he's already having like an engagement party in the beginning anyway. So it's obvious they're gonna get married. And you know, he's kind of settled in the domestic life now, really happy, but he's called back into, you know, doing undercover work, as it were, because one of the agents that he approved to go out on the field, if you like, she's been held captive by these like arms dealers, and you know, these people are not good people, and she's been bashed around black and blue, and she's in this big massive warehouse, and he has to basically get her out. So yeah, that's what he's been called to do. That's a mission he's been called to do. So after lots and lots of fight scenes at the beginning of this warehouse, he manages to get her out. She at one point says, can you turn off your transmitter? And he doesn't actually do that. So you know, really at the beginning it is going to be some sort of inside job. So that was a dead giveaway, because they gave that away in the film quite a long time ago. Anyway, they managed to get her to a helicopter with Ethan and Ethan's team. They get this woman in a helicopter, and unfortunately they've put this detonation device in her brain to make her brain blow up. And what happens is, if they can get a defibrillator on her, you know, quick enough before the whole thing takes effect, they can in fact like bring the person back to life. I didn't really understand why they didn't bring her back to life, because in one way, because as far as I understood, the defibrillator was there to bring her back to life after she died, but he didn't actually do that. He left her dead in the helicopter, but you could see that her eye was smashed in and basically blown her brains out inside. So it would seem that that wasn't what was happening, because the defibrillator took ages on the helicopter to actually power up, and then it didn't power up in time. And you later see on the movie that he ends up with a device in his head, and he has to kill it. Well, his wife in the very end has to kill him before she brings him back to life. So yeah, that's quite interesting. But anyway, before we get to the end, right, what happens is, you know, this woman's killed. He's really sad, because not because he loved her as a girlfriend or anything like that, because he thought she was his friend and he'd worked with her, and he was the one who put her into the field and said she was ready to go into battle, basically ready to go out there. And so he feels, I think, a little bit of guilt, and he has the funeral goes on and everything, and then he comes back to his fiance, and he doesn't tell her what's going on because he's undercover. He can't say what his work is. He just keeps saying for her to trust him. And anyway, as time goes on, he manages to get hold of the guy that's like a arms dealer that's behind this whole thing, of where, when she ended up in this warehouse, and he's chasing after him for ages. His team are using a lot of undercover stuff. It's really good because he ends up having this mask on him and this voice changer, basically, so he becomes a bad guy at this party in order to capture the bad guy and get away. So it's really, really interesting story. It's non-stop action pretty much. He manages to capture the bad guy, and they're already happy. They're gonna actually make this guy go back to the to like his base, and then they find out that he's being shot at. Ethan's being shot out on the bridge, and his team's being shot at. And there's this message that they managed to find, this encrypted message that the woman in the warehouse, when she was captured before, I don't know if it's before she was captured, I presume, sent this undercover message to say, I think someone's in on it, on the inside, And so for a long time in the film, we think it's the head guy who's a person of color, and there's this guy who's meant to be helping Ethan, working underneath him, but the twist is later on is that it's not the person of color, it's the other person, presumably. But I didn't get that because I still thought the person of color was in on it as well. Who's the head of the operation, basically. But anyway, yeah, so what happens is Ethan is on the bridge, and when they've captured this baddie, this like arms dealer, what happens, all his team end up being sabotaged because they end up like having other helicopters come and nearly blow them up and try and kill them on the bridge. There's a lot of action on here. Ethan's involved in like cars being blown up. I saw the again behind the scenes footage, and one car's actually blown up and it pushes him against another car, and he was actually the person who did that stunt himself, Tom Cruise, as Ethan. Tom was actually doing that stunt himself, and the force of the blast of the car actually pushed him against another car. He was on a rope though when they did that. But even so, it actually really blasted against his body. So I was absolutely shocked at how many stunts Tom Cruise did. There was this one part of the film where he was supposed to have like climbed over the wall of China or something, and he did that stunt himself. And I was absolutely shocked at how much Tom Cruise does himself. Tons of it. Going under the lorry, being blasted against a car, walking up a wall. I'm like, oh my God, it's just nuts, absolutely nuts. But yeah, I guess it makes it a lot more authentic and realistic when he does it himself. But anyway, the bad guy gets away in a helicopter, and they come and rescue the bad guy, and they're pretty much, one of the people on his team's got hurt and stuff. And so yeah, it really, really is difficult because he's been double crossed, and then what happens is the bad guy that got away had protection, so clearly it's an inside job. And yeah, and then the bad guy gets hold of the woman, Julia. I think it's Julia in it. Yeah, Julia, who is his fiance, who then she's become his wife. She's a nurse, actually. She became his wife. She found out he was doing some weird stuff, but he still wouldn't tell her, so he just has to trust me. So she said, oh, is this real? And he's like, yeah. So they get married, despite his colleagues saying, when you live a life like you do, you can't marry anyone. And anyway, in the end, she is his wife, and they capture his wife, and then they go to this warehouse and put her under pressure, and he's captured. Ethan's captured, and so it looks like his wife's about to die, and then you find out that was not true, and it was someone who was wearing a mask and had voice activation, hidden, like basically try to take off the voice of his wife, like pretend to be the voice of his wife. But I don't know who would have volunteered for that, to put themselves in that position. Weird. To actually be wearing the mask. It didn't really make sense, that bit. But anyway, so in the end, he does actually find his wife, but his wife is still tied up by baddies. And anyway, he eventually manages to free his wife. But in the end, the twist, the very, very twist at the end, is his wife has to kill him because he's got an explosive device in his head. She has to be the one to bring him back to life. But also, he taught her before he had to die that how to use a gun. And she's like, how do you know all this stuff? And he just carries on telling her how to load a gun, how to set the gun, what to do with it. So when he's dead, she's like, why are you teaching me this? He said there could be more basically bad people. So he lies dead on the floor, and then you find out it's not the person of color, it's the who's in charge of the whole organization. It's a guy underneath him that's actually the double crosser, and he comes with a briefcase, and his wife is actually the one who shoots the main baddie in the end. And you're like, oh my gosh, they've been chasing all over, trying to get hold of this baddie, try and capture him, this arms dealer, trying to kill him. And then so it's not the arms dealer she kills, because he kills the arms dealer, but there's a guy who's been behind a lot of stuff, who's a guy who's in the actual organization who he works for, that's like, it's gone back to him as the main culprit. And so the real main baddie at the end is the one that his wife kills, and you're thinking everyone's been trying to kill baddies, and it's his wife who's really inexperienced who ends up killing him. Not him, obviously. Ethan. It's his wife who ends up killing the main baddie who's left at the end. And you're like, oh my gosh. So then she ends up knowing all what he does and everything, and meets the people he works with at the end. So it's a very amazing film. There's loads and loads of amazing explosive action. You can see by the back of the DVD, he's the one that you think it is a lot of the time. But it ends up not being him in the end. But I thought he was still on it. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's really, really good. As it says, it's a superb action movie, the best in the series. I don't think I've seen the other two. I might have seen one of them. I can't remember which one I've seen. I thought I'd seen this before, but I don't think I have, because I didn't recognise it when I watched it. So maybe I've seen a different Mission Impossible that I did actually like. I can't remember which one it was though. But this one's absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. On the edge of your seat stuff. Lots of action. Like I said, I was so impressed with all the stunts Tom did himself. Really love the story. And I like the fact he's got a wife this time in it. They've shown his softer side. They've shown that he does want to be human like everyone else, if you like, rather than just doing all this undercover stuff all the time. And that, that they've got him a kick-ass wife, basically, who could well become an agent in the future herself, which I kind of didn't know if that's what they were going to, imply at the end, when she got to meet all his colleagues and was wearing like a security badge. I don't know if she's just a visit or if they've made her like an agent like he is. But she works as a nurse usually, so I wouldn't have thought she'd give the nurse job up. But it would be very interesting if we saw in another movie his wife kick some more ass. I think that would be good. All them working together as a team or something. I think that'd be really good. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I'd highly recommend it. However, it is not completely sex or nudity free. Right, there is her and him about to have sex. You don't see anything, don't actually see the sex, but you see them in bed together when his wife is naked, but you don't really see the full nakedness. You see them together after they got married, and basically he's trying to rip her clothes off, and she's down to her underwear, and they're kissing passionately, which looks like they're about to have sex, but you don't actually see them having a proper full-on sex scene that I can remember in the movie. So there's implied sex there. There is some nudity, but not full nudity. And that I remember, you can see, her back naked and stuff like that. But, she did keep her underwear on, from what I could tell. So yeah, I know, it's usually evident to me. So it's implied sex in the movie, but you don't actually see full sex scene. So, you know, if you're an asexual person who hates nudity, hates sex, you might struggle. It's not full nudity, so you might be okay. You might struggle a little bit, but because there's no full sex in it and there's no full nudity in it, you might find it's passable. But just be aware of those. You know, I do think in a way, like, why did they even need to do that, right? Because they're married, and then they just this scene where they're like going in the hospital in like the cupboards or something, in like one of the places like the admin filings room or something. It's really weird, and he's ripping her clothes off. Looks like he's about to have sex with her. I'm thinking, is this really adding to the story? Is it really, you know, like helping move the story along? Is it really necessary? And my answer was no. This is not necessary or to the plot. You know, you don't need to actually have this as part of the movie, but you've just shoved it in there anyway because you got married and that was it. You know, time to get on with the action. But no, you had to have this scene where you're in this like cupboard type place and ripping her clothes off down to her underwear. I just thought it's not really necessary. But you know what they like? They like to get sex in there because it sells more, apparently. But yeah, so, you know, I don't think that scene was necessary. But, you know, it is what it is. Overall, I loved the movie. I thought it was really good, very action-packed. And I would highly recommend you watch it. So if you like this video and this movie review, please give it a thumbs up. But don't forget to share it with a friend. And Stylistic Nightmare 2, no one here but me. Oh yeah, I've nearly nice to see you. Yeah, I've nearly finished this movie review now, but I do have another movie review. So I'll probably be back in a minute to do my second one. But yeah, it's lovely to see you. Lots of love. Take care. And I'll see you on the next video or live stream for the next movie review. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that great big bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live. Right now I'll post a new video. Lots of love to you. Bye.